Hello once again, everybody. Welcome to the Mario Cristobal Show. Joe Zagacki alongside my broadcast partner, Don Bailey Jr. Mario Cristobal joins us momentarily. This week, the Hurricanes home against the Duke Blue Devils. A 12 o'clock kickoff, high noon, for the return of Manny Diaz. But first, Hurricanes were in firm command against Florida State in the latest rendition of the Miami-FSU rivalry.
Yeah, it was a great one, Joe. And you're right. Miami was in full command. And what I liked about it is they took a business approach. The defense did a fantastic job holding the Florida State offense to under 250 yards. And Miami was able to run that football back-to-back weeks against Louisville, Florida State, over 200 yards rushing. I think those are good numbers.
Well, speaking of good numbers, they won the game by 22. For some, that's a very good number.
That's a great number.
Miami, speaking of numbers, ran it 40 times. And really, what Florida State was saying is, as crazy as this sounds, Florida State was saying, we want you to throw the ball into our secondary, because they were hoping to get a pick six or some kind of turnover to play in the short field. And Mario Cristobal did not take the bait. Miami ran the football and stayed with it.
And I will tell you, it was against a very good run defense. Florida State was very good at the defensive tackle spot, defensive ends. Those linebackers could all play, but Miami had success with it. So now the offense goes to another level. You don't have to throw the football. You can run it, and you can almost run it at will. And we've seen many, many times that Cam Ward can throw it as well as anybody in the country.
And we start November with the Duke Blue Devils. They want to play great defense.
Well, you would understand if you said that their head coach, Manny Diaz, is a defensive guy. They should be playing great defense, and they are. They're at the top of every category in the ACC.
Miami and Duke, 12 o'clock, Hard Rock Stadium. Mario Cristobal joins us next. Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the Mario Cristobal Show. Joe Zagacki, my broadcast partner, Don Bailey Jr., and of course, University of Miami head coach Mario Cristobal. This week, the Hurricanes are home at 12 o'clock against the Duke Blue Devils. So help us out. Fill up that stadium at Hard Rock Stadium. The Hurricanes 8-0, ranked number 5 in the country, and state champs. Coach, great win against Florida State, and now you're state champs as well.
Well, I think first and foremost, it was important to thank the fans that came out. Fans, family, friends, alumni that came out, and they created an unbelievable environment and were certainly impactful. So, got the ever important W against our biggest rival in state, one of the two biggest rivals in state, and now on to the next one.
Well, Coach, you're state champs, and you do it in front of a homecoming crowd for the university, but also it was one heck of a homecoming for former players. It was a who's who on that sideline, and when you look around and you see all the great names of the past, how does that influence these young men today that are on this football team?
You wish they were still playing and slap a helmet on them so they could go make some plays for us, but these guys grew up watching those guys. Their families grew up watching those guys, and to see them in such large numbers and so animated, so involved, it's an incredible feeling, and it's what made Miami, a while back, and sure enough, we're progressing towards that once again.
Coach, we dive into this one. I don't think there was ever a threat really in this game. I thought you dominated right from the get-go. You scored on 7 of 8 possessions. Cam Ward hit 9 different receivers. Damian Martinez, 148 yards rushing. Florida State, a season low in passing yards, 115, and you had 31 first downs.
Really proud of our guys. I mean, when they came out, that energy was, again, electric. So right away, just took the first possession, went right down and scored, and got up by a couple of scores and took command of the game, and certainly just kept plugging away. It was body blow after body blow after body blow, and our guys just kept finding ways to keep making plays both on offense and defense and keep pulling away. And, a bunch of guys got to play there at the end as well, so they got a piece of the rivalry game.
Coach, I'm going to jump on special teams early this afternoon. When you come off the last game, you show great improvement, but let's talk about Napper the Snapper, Mason, right? He did a great job. And then the Washington brothers were there, Patterson, Pruitt. I mean, just the accumulation of people that improved the level of special teams play against Florida State.
We grew up special teams wise. Mm-hmm. We challenged those guys and flat out just went right after them. We're not being mature enough in our approach to the game. Because if you're on special teams, that's a badge of honor now, right? You've got to represent. So many great players for so long started their careers on special teams at the University of Miami, and we weren't covering that way. And at Louisville, we embarrassed ourselves in the way we covered. And so we went at it hard and direct, coached them hard. They responded extremely well, and they played their butts off. They really did.
It seemed to me that Florida State, their approach to the game on defense, and I thought their best assets were in the secondary. It seemed to me they were going to say, okay, if you're going to beat us, try to beat us through the air, because we don't think that you're going to have the patience to run it. But you ran it 40 times, and Damian had a huge game. And so did Fletcher.
No doubt. We average about 12, 13, 14 possessions a game, and I think the plan was probably to limit our possessions. We had a total of 8. We scored on 7. So imagine with the math, a couple more possessions, how that scoreboard keeps lighting up more and more and more. And they were daring us to run the ball, and our guys came off the football, and they were really physical and got some really big chunk plays, important plays, kept the sticks moving, and did a great job scoring.
Elijah Arroyo, Coach, we've talked about him being a great athlete and all the things that he does with the football in his hand, but I didn't know he's such a great left-handed quarterback as well. He looked good.
We found that by accident, but to have a lefty to make that play go left, it's something that you don't really see much. He had a lot of satisfaction in having a higher completion percentage than Cam Ward.
But by the way, to pick up on the run game, that had to be a real source of pride for you as well, because when you played in those Florida State games, even you, Don, those were always like 1 yard for either team was hard to get. And to watch your team grind it out at 7 yards a carry, and Fletch have the big game, and the offensive line really perform well in the run game, which, by the way, creates a more comfortable, I think, situation for Cam Ward as the season unfolds. You had to be proud of that.
Without a doubt, all credit goes to the players. I mean, they worked their tails off, and we've done it in practice. Just the way some of the games have gone, it's lended a little bit more to the pass and to the run. But we've always been balanced in our approach. And now that the opportunity presented itself, all that work it was just like practice. It was just like going out there and do what we do on Green Tree every day. So great to see, fun to see as well. And was glad to see some of those big guys have an opportunity to get their cleats in the ground and get their flat backs going and hands inside and rolling.
One of those big guys, Zach Carpenter, had a challenge going into that game, and he accepted it and excelled at it.
He did. He's one that really created some great movement at the point of attack and did a great job with the A-gaps and certainly in protection as well.
And the receivers, going against, I think, a pretty good secondary, Horton made some big catches, Brown made some big catches. When needed, there were some tight needles to be thread there for Cam Ward, and guys came down with the football.
They did. And you know what? The coverage was snug. Credit to the secondary for Florida State. They did a good job. And, when we did have some small windows in right there, I think Cam did a nice job just being accurate, putting the ball in a spot where only we could catch it. And our guys came down with some contested balls, drew a pass interference, drew a holding call as well that were critical in moving the sticks. And a lot of people don't talk much about the check down, but a check down on 3rd and 20 and making a guy miss and running through another one was also the difference in the scoring drive for us.
Coach, you still feel real comfortable about going on 4th down? You've done that quite a bit the last couple of weeks. What are some of the thoughts that go into that call?
Well, I mean, schematically, we invest a lot in short yardage, in critical areas or whatnot, and understanding what a defense is trying to do and assessing and analyzing matchups. It's not a reckless approach, I promise. I'm not playing, John Madden football on there. It's there's some analytical stuff, but it's also a gut thing too. Our vantage point on the field allows you to really see the line of scrimmage, and if you feel good about matchup, about hat position, about leverage and numbers, if the math, says yes, you're going to go with it.
You are 60% on 3rd down, which is number 1 in the country. That's pretty good.
Well, you know what? That's good to know, but all that matters is that particular statistic continues to get better so that we're at the end of the year. And I think our players realize that, because we made it a huge point of emphasis this morning, is that I don't think anyone thinks that we're doing as good as we can do. And I'm talking about the people within the program. There's lots of areas that we can get better at that could lead to a better 3rd down conversion rate. And our guys are committed to doing so. So, again, great practice today, and we're looking forward to getting after it tomorrow.
Coach, your defense held Florida State to 248 total yards, and included in that number, of course, is a 43-yard run by their quarterback. But overall, They were very stingy in giving up any yards.
They were. I mean, they were physical at the line of scrimmage. They really did a great job up front, putting pressure on the quarterback. And as a team, we played well together, making them one-dimensional, and we felt that if we could get to that point, the advantage would squarely be in our hands. And I think the secondary did a great job communicating, albeit one play. Did a really, really good job just making sure that they understood exactly what they were doing and how they were going to do it. And that led to just an excellent performance by those guys.
Held them to 115 yards passing. In modern day college football, 115 yards passing, 3 sacks, 4 tackles for losses, and 4 breakups. So secondary did their job.
They did. They did their job, and you know what? They were complemented by a great front seven. They really were. They put heat on the quarterback, forced some balls to come out a little bit early. We missed a quarterback, a good half dozen times. A great job by their quarterback just getting free and creating some time and space. He got the ball off a couple times, and a couple times he ran past the stick. So certainly a lot to improve upon there, but we do feel that we progressed and got better, and really proud of our defensive guys.
Coach Xavier Restrepo steps up another notch in the greatest of all time, or the most yards of all time in catches at Miami, but also Horton had a big day with 6 catches, 65 yards.
And some critical ones as well. I mean, he gets better and better, more and more comfortable and just hungrier and more driven, really always working on his craft. And he's very dependable. We're going to keep working on everyone's blocking on the perimeter because that becomes really critical. But, Zay has really stepped up, and he's done a really, really good job for us, and sky's the limit for him.
Now it's a twofold conversation, I guess. Borregales continues to nail the field goals. You talked about special teams, but he hits the 3 field goals. But you also took the points because, and I think in that game, it just called for piling on the points, right? Putting the distance, breathing room, because they have struggled on offense.
Creating separation, got to do what's best for the team. I mean, especially down at halftime, right before halftime, we felt that an extra 4 or 5 seconds ticked off after one of the plays that we had down there, because we've been very good at that, but we found ourselves having to use our last timeout, and we were down to a play plus a field goal or a go for it, and said, you know what, let's make this a 2-score game now so that we can continue to create separation as the game goes on.
Which we hit on a little bit, but I don't think people realize the magnitude of the long drives that you had in that game, and that you had 31 first downs. And to drive the length of the field again and again and again, it really helps your defense also, because you're chewing up so much time of possession.
No doubt. You limit the amount of snaps your defense has to be on the field. I think in the first half, they were on the field for 22 snaps. That really lends to your offense just continue to wear down the other side, and your defense being fresh coming out for the second half.
Coach, thank you very much. Time now for our high-performance moment presented by Kia. And boy, was this a moment. Could be a Heisman moment. It's Arroyo to Cam Ward. We'll call this the Miami special.
That's right, Joe. And special it was. Your quarterback gets to be on the receiving end of a touchdown, but a great play drawn up by offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson. A lot of misdirection. They start with the motion from the right to the left, and then, of course, quarterback under center, tosses it, starts selling it to the right-hand side. Arroyo coming back, the flip to Ward. Ward saunters into the end zone. 6 points for the Hurricanes. Nice play.
It has to be at the right spot of the field. Arroyo, a left-handed throwing tight end. Perfect pass to Cam Ward. And that is our high-performance moment presented by Kia. This week, the Hurricanes return home, or will be at home against the Duke Blue Devils. 12 o'clock kickoff. Miami and Duke. Blue Devils come in 6-2. 21st meeting between Miami and Duke. Hurricanes have won 6 of the last 9. And this is a team, Duke, coming off a crazy game, a 1-point loss. But you can see their identity, right?
Without a doubt, very physical defense, very physical offensive line. The quarterback does a great job getting the ball out, accurate, on time, and he can hurt you with his feet as well. And they've got some really dynamic playmakers in the backfield and on the perimeter as well. And their defense has forced more turnovers than anyone else in the country. They lead or are second or third in the country in tackles for losses. Their sack rate is extremely high, top 20 in the country. They lead the conference in so many defensive categories that our guys had a chance to watch them yesterday and today, and they understand how well these guys play together and how many good players they have on their team.
Coach, when you look at the ball game, and I've watched some of it already, but Duke had 6 takeaways and 3 other opportunities as well where the ball was on the ground. That never happens that you lose that game. So that teaches you that it does happen. I mean, that you can lose a game even though you're winning a giveaway takeaway like
Without
that.
a doubt. It's like until the clock strikes 0, right?
Right.
You see, so every single weekend you're seeing examples. And when you take away 6 and you have an opportunity for 3 more, that's a pretty frightening, right, predicament to be in on the other side. And they were in position to win the game there at the end and had a field goal blocked. And in overtime, had a 2-point conversion not converted by them. And that was the difference in the game. So like so many games in the conference, anybody could be on the winning side of these last possession games. And certainly they're a team that is very well coached, and they got a lot of good players.
I want to ask you about their tackles for losses in a second, but you mentioned the field goal is blocked. I've never seen anything like it. Jafari Harvey, who was here, he jumped over there. He jumped over him like the broad jump and then blocked it.
Great job by him. And again, it's a game-saving play by him.
They're number 2 in the nation in tackles for losses, 8.9 per game. So imperative, I imagine, stay ahead of the change. When you do that against Duke, probably frustrates them a little bit if you are not allowing them to get to their game.
Well, you know what? They get you behind the chains. They put you off schedule, right? All of a sudden you're in 2nd and 12, 2nd and 13, 3rd and long. And that's when they could dial up some of the exotic pressures on 3rd down. Try to confuse your IDs, your points, what you're going to do with your offensive line on protection downs like that. So you have to be really good up front. You have to be really good as a quarterback, putting you in the right play. You have to take advantage of your opportunities and not waste any plays, because if you do, you're going to find yourself in 3rd and long, and success rate on 3rd and long is not very good anywhere.
Coach, you mentioned the quarterback Malik Murphy, and he's 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, but he's got some guys on the outside that are dependable as well.
He does. He's got speed. He's got size. He's got guys that can make you miss and go the distance. He's got guys that can beat man coverage, and guys that do a really nice job versus zone coverage as well. And, conceptually, they're just really, really good. They call a great game. Their concepts are difficult to defend. They give you a lot of different pictures, a lot of different formations, and they're a really good football team.
To your point, in Don, plus they got experience. Moore, that'd be his 44th game. Pancol his 52nd game. Hagan's his 31st game. And Moore and Pancol both are over 100 receptions, or Pancol's closing in on that career-wise. So these guys have caught a lot of footballs.
Caught a lot of footballs and played in a lot of big games. Yeah. And the value of experience down the stretch here in November is invaluable, right? The more guys that have seen a lot and done a lot in big games, the better for your football team. So we're very well aware that we have to have a great week of practice and have to be very detailed in our preparation.
Coach, it seems that I noticed it in the post-game in the locker room, that this team understands that the business-like approach that they need to take week in and week out. And as big a win as it was against Florida State, I got the feeling when that game was over, and they're ready to go be 1-0 against Duke.
This team, it's getting better. Mm-hmm. This team acknowledges reality and truths, and the fact that, look, it's awesome. It's November, and the University of Miami is playing relevant football. And if you don't take care of business, that comes to an end. So it's not where you are right now. It's where you want to be and how you want the whole thing to end. And I think our guys understand that the daily investment in this thing has to be every ounce that you have. And so they're certainly mentally just developing, growing, pushing each other. Just great human beings and great competitors that just want to get better. I mean, I really am looking forward to tomorrow's practice.
Coach, this is, we always talk about this, but probably more important now than ever before. It's roster management. And you've done a remarkable job of managing this roster with a blend of veterans and young players. And I think Don and I would agree with this, that from the united standpoint, the way your team is united, we haven't seen this here in a long time. How were you able to pull this all together?
You got to credit the players with that. I mean, we have really good coaches and good leadership, and you present the information, you present the guidelines and the blueprint, but essentially at some point in time and eventually they have to take it over, and they've done a great job taking it over. They really have. And I think they've done a great job staying mad, and not being content with anything. They just want to get better and better. But they have invested a lot of time being around each other and doing all kinds of different things, from breaking bread to going out and getting on a boat, fishing, paintball, and you name it, they've done it. And they've gotten to know each other really well. And the only way you can respect someone and like someone and trust someone is if you get to know them and work with them. There's been a lot of work. They've been through a lot, and it's reflected in the way they are with each other on the sideline during adverse moments. I mean, it's a really unique bond, and one that's going to only get stronger as the season goes on.
Coach, the value of all the recruits, and there were a lot of recruits here, to come into Hard Rock, sold out Hard Rock, to see Miami beat Florida State for the first time in 3 years, to see all the former football players there, just that whole experience. What were some of the comments of the players, or how did that affect them? Because it just couldn't have been any better.
No, it's a super wow factor. I mean, if anyone that was there was just blown away by all that stuff. And for us, as important as that was, so they could see the cool and the fun side, now, like, we want to get these guys back here, these recruits back here for practice, because they have to like what we do. They have to see us coach. They have to see how hard we push. They have to see how competitive it is for that to be a reality on Saturdays. And they got to fit that. So even though there were 250, whatever there was, again, it was more than you could ever imagine, but it still has to be about the right ones. And the right ones, if they're attracted to that environment and that type of competitive rivalry, awesome. But now they got to come to practice, and they got to see how we lift, how we run, how we hit, right, and how we do things, and they got to buy into that blueprint.
And then you go, Coach, then you bring them to the campus, and we talk about this University of Miami and the opportunity for the education that it provides as well.
No doubt. The private school setting is one of a kind, and what the administration has done here, and what Joe Zagacki is going to be doing, our current president, is going to be doing with the university, it's going to a different level, and they're going to create separation. They're going to create a gap between us and our competitors.
You had a vision when you got here a couple years ago, and now this year you can pretty clearly see your vision. We're state champs, and those wins against the Florida teams, by the way, have been by comfortable margins. So along the recruiting lines, is it easier maybe with all the things you just talked about for them to see your vision considering some of these results?
I think validation is critically important, because the off season is long, right? And you preach what your plan is, and then come the season, there has to be validation, or it has to be unvalidated, right? Well, there's a lot of validation, and probably the best part about it all is that we're already done with last week. Like, we're moving on. And I think players and parents sense that. They're like, okay, these guys they just aren't about the current moment and the hype. They're forward thinking, forward moving. So, yeah, it's been a great week, and we just want to keep getting better. That's all we want to do.
You talk about putting the proof on tape. Well, you've done that by allowing the freshmen who are ready to play. And it doesn't matter if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior. If you're ready to play and can contribute, they will get on the plane, and they will help Miami win football games.
Without a doubt. Playing time, there's no discrimination, no matter where you're from, how old or new you are, what you look like, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you could flat out help the Hurricanes win, and you're doing the right things off the field, you're going to get an opportunity, and more guys are getting opportunities, and that trend is going to continue to get stronger, because we have recruited really, really well, and the foundation of this program is really strong.
They say to be a good red zone team, you have to be either creative and run the ball. So you were creative the other night with the Arroyo touchdown pass, but you've run it 40 times the last 2 games. Your red zone numbers the last 2 games, 11 touchdowns and 12 trips. So we're going into November, the time of the year where those things have to be really sharp, right? And the physicality has to show up.
It has to show up. The teams that you're playing are going to get better and better, right? The competition is going to get stronger. There's going to be changes in weather, right? You may be caught in a rain, cold, whatever it may be. It's the best time of the football season, right? And certainly we're super blessed to be playing relevant football, and all focus is on being 1-0.
Coach, Borregales, the kicker, he was 3 for 3, and he just keeps being consistent. That's what you ask for. But I think you have all the confidence in the world from him from 50 on. Who knows how far he can go, but what makes him so special at that spot?
Driven, He's just a relentless worker. He's all about his craft, and he's all about his teammates. That guy's as good of a teammate as you'll find out there. Reminds me a lot of my teammate back in the day, Carlos Huerta. Except, and I'll apologize to Carlos later, but Andy's stronger. You know what I mean? He really is super dependable, and everybody trusts him. The fact that he is, in practice, we're in 56, 58 plus. It doesn't surprise anybody because he does it all the time. So it's a blessing to have Andy here. Awesome family, just great to be around.
This team, like that team you talked about, is playing, I think, with the same kind of joy and teamwork. We'll wrap this up with it's Duke, 12 o'clock, early start. Need a lot of people in that stadium when the team comes out through the smoke to get them revved up to go 1-0.
No doubt. Another great opportunity. I know everybody there on this past Saturday had a blast. I mean, you see some of the videos that people put out there. People have been sending me all kinds. It's awesome, and by 6 a.m. Sunday, I got to move on, so I don't get to see any more. I'm sure there's more, but that's going to be replicated every Saturday. We can't wait to see our fans there. We certainly need a home field advantage every single week, so looking forward to seeing everybody on Saturday.
All right, Coach. Best of luck against Duke.
Thank you. Go Canes.
All right, that's University of Miami head coach Mario Cristobal, and we will continue on the show right after this. When you give it your all to be in peak condition, sometimes you get hurt. From meniscus or rotator cuff tears to muscle strains and other common sports injuries, the experts at the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute, part of UHealth University of Miami Health System, are committed to getting you back to your best safely, effectively, and as quickly as possible. Recover your game with the same team that cares for your Miami Hurricanes. Schedule an appointment today at uhealthsports.com. Hurricanes and the Duke Blue Devils, Saturday at 12 o'clock at Hard Rock Stadium. Welcome back to the Mario Cristobal Show. Joe Zagacki, Don Bailey Jr. Blue Devils come in. We've talked about their defense. They want to create a lot of negative plays. But on offense, under previous coaches, I think they wanted to run the ball. They want to throw the ball. With this guy, they want to throw the ball with Murphy, the quarterback.
And he's been successful, Joe. 17 touchdowns, only 5 picks. They give him high percentage throws. The offensive line has done a good job protecting him, but he's confident, and he should be. He's got a defense that's one of the best in the conference.
Hurricanes ranked number 5 in the country. Miami has thrived on big plays on offense, probably still working to make sure they limit the explosive plays, especially from Duke in this game.
Well, you have to be careful of the explosive play if you're giving those up defensively. Miami has worked on it. And I think the more you go into the season, the better they will become because they were an inexperienced secondary coming into this season.
It's the early riser game, 12 o'clock, but it's November. This is football weather now in November, so we're looking for a great day.
That we are, Joe. Let's make sure we pack